And so what I want to do right now is just take you through an average week here at Submerge. And I say average because we're a living, growing, thriving organization. And so who knows, maybe I get out of filming this section here and I meet someone on the street that says, oh man, we have this awesome opportunity, and then that becomes a part of the program that you're going to be involved in. So I'll give you a template and an average just so you have an idea of what does life look like on a daily basis or on a weekly basis here at Submerge. So first off, I'll start with our weekend here. Sunday and Monday is our technical weekend that we have, and we are very intentional about this time. We are not a program that's like militaristic, 24/7, always going. Part of what this program is that we recognize you're living in South America. This might be the only time in life that you're living on another continent. And so we want you to be able to take advantage of the opportunity to go and see the country, to hang out, to meet friends. And we really believe broader than that, aside from just living in South America. We believe that however you practice is how you're ultimately going to play. And we want to train leaders for the long run, not for the short run. And one of the ways that we do that is by modeling and giving time to have a weekend, to have a Sabbath. We believe that it's healthy, that it's a godly principle that we should reset once a week and rest and have fun and hang out. So Sunday and Mondays is our weekends here at Go in the Submerge program. So we've got Sunday, Monday that we're off. Then Tuesday then is the first part of our week. And essentially what that is, that's kind of like our Monday. We all come together, we meet here in our offices, and this is the time where we're really brainstorming and thinking and creating and planning what the rest of the week looks like. And so we have a big team meeting all together, and then what we do is we split off into separate committees. And everybody's responsible, everyone serves on a separate committee, and no matter what committee you work with, you might be working with children or planning children's events. That doesn't mean you only then go do children's events. So you might work and plan one of our kids outreaches, but that doesn't mean that you won't be at the Friday night creative campaign or at the outreach service that we have of the church plant that's called One. So you work and plan with one committee, but you get to experience everything. And I think that's one of the strengths of the program, is that you get to be a part in all that we do. So basically what will happen on Tuesday, we all meet, and then when we split off in those committees, you'll split off into really committees that have one of four focuses or four emphasis. And basically it's this. We have our kids committee, we have what we call our social committee, which is really, I'll go into detail of what each of these are. Then we have our creative campaigns committee, and now the newest one is our One committee. We have a church plant that we've just launched. It's called One UIO or One UIO, which that's the airport code for Quito here, so it's kind of a local term that everyone recognizes. So if you see online, if you check out any of the information, you can go to www.oneuio.com or oneuio.com, and you can see kind of what the church looks like. That's one of the committees that we have. And so basically what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about each of those areas, and that will pretty much give you an idea of what goes on in the week. So the first committee is called social, and the reason we call it social is that that area is anytime we're working with any other organization that is a partnered organization. So, there's some things that we can do just on our own, but when we're, say, working with a food distribution organization, or each week we work with a juvenile detention center, anytime there's a third-party organization involved, that falls underneath the responsibilities of our social committee. And so that committee will break, they'll look at the calendar, they'll say, okay, we have to plan something for the juvenile detention center this week. Is there anything we need to be ready for the food distribution? They'll just make sure that all the details are taken care of for the social committee, for all of the different projects that we'll be doing in that given week that fall underneath the area of social or third-party organizations we work with. So that's the first committee. Second committee is now the new church that I was just speaking about. It's called One, very non-traditional church. Right now it's really geared toward just 18 to 35 or so. We actually meet every week at a place called House of Rock. It's kind of a club/bar, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But on Tuesdays, it's home for our new church plant. We're very excited about this new outreach, and really the reason that we have begun it is, in a minute I'll talk to you about our creative campaigns and where we do the campaigns. And one of the realities is we started reaching such a a non-churched crowd. I mean, it's people with piercings and tattoos, and they are not your normal average churchgoers. And so we wanted to create church in a place where they feel comfortable. We wanted to bring the gospel on their turf instead of requiring them to dress up in a suit and, you know, come and say God bless you while they shake an usher's hand. We want them to be able to step into a place that they're comfortable with, a place that they might be on a Friday night, but on Tuesday they're going to walk into that same bar, and they're not going to be you know, in a party scene. They're going to be sitting there, hanging out, eating food, talking to people, and they're going to be hearing the gospel of Jesus. And that's what One is about. So if you're working on the One committee, you'll also on Tuesday mornings, you'll split off, you'll think, you'll plan, you'll be a part of the planning sessions, as well as just pulling together all the details. Because to do an event like this, you know, sometimes some churches, that's like their big event every week, and that's the one thing that they do. Here, that's one of the outreaches that we'll do in a given week. We've got all kinds of other ones, so that's what the One committee is really focused on, is working behind the scenes to make the event a success every single week. And so we've got social, we have the One committee, and then also we have our creative campaigns. And so probably I'm assuming that you've seen some of those campaigns online. You can go to gointernational.tv, click the campaigns link, and see all the different outreaches that we do. And really that's the word that we use in place of outreach. Instead of saying outreach, which just inherently sounds a little churchy, we use the word art campaign. And really the reason we use campaigns, and we definitely have a different style when it comes to evangelism, is we've found as we traveled the world and we started taking teams to places like London and Paris and Rome and these different places, we just realized that, man, we had to totally reevaluate the way that we did street ministry or evangelism. And so one of the ways that we implement, or one of the things that we use in our outreaches, is we use the medium of art. Because we find that, you know, if something's cool, it doesn't matter what the message behind it is. If something's cool, people are instantly attracted to it. So we set up in all these public places, and if it looks cool, what we find is that people will come and they'll ask what we're doing. And that's the first step, because what we really believe in our organization, when we're doing outreach, when we're doing ministry, when we're doing evangelism, especially on the streets, you know, in my opinion, that can be one of the more awkward things a person can be involved in. Like, hey, excuse me, stranger, do you know Jesus? Or do you know if you die tonight where you're going? It can be a very awkward and forced thing, and that's not what we want. So one of the things that we really believe in evangelism is we look for opportunities to create a dialogue and not simply a monologue. We believe that really if we're going to share the gospel, it can't just be a one-sided conversation where we stop people and tell them to listen to all that we know. What it really needs to be is an opportunity for us to have a conversation with them, for us to share, yes, but also to listen, because we believe everybody wants to be heard. That's a common thread of humanity. And so all of our campaigns are geared towards, one, having some sort of visual element that draws people in, that causes them to say, man, what's this group about? What is this? And we always use kind of a surface message first. So it might be our dream campaign, it might be our vision campaign, where they all have different topics, where when we do the dream campaign, we're asking people, what's your dream? Because we believe more people, the world needs more people who dream. So that might be the intro conversation that gets us talking, but then we get to take that conversation and direct it toward the fact that, man, you know, we believe that God has created all of us with purpose, with intentionality. We believe that God is the author of our dreams. And so that's an example of one of the campaigns that we do that really seek to create a dialogue and foster conversation. We've found it to be a very, very effective means of creating relationships. And because of that, that's where we really felt like, man, we need to have a place where these people can get plugged in, and that's why we've created One. So if you're on the Creative Campaigns Committee, you will be responsible for planning, for thinking up new ideas. We try and do 1 to 2 brand new campaigns a month that we've never done before. And then at the same time, when we're out almost every Friday night, we have a standing permit with the city of Quito. There's kind of an area that's kind of the party district. It's called Plaza Foch. And so people go down there. It's kind of people are going out to bars and clubs and restaurants. And we have a permit to be there every single week doing our different art campaigns. And so you will either, if you're on the Creative Campaigns Committee, you will either be planning and setting up all the details for the upcoming one that we have, or you will be thinking and planning and creating brand new campaigns that have yet to be done. And so that's kind of what the first 3 committees are. The 4th committee that we have is our Kids Committee. And this is something that we're very passionate about. I mentioned to you that we have a standing permit with the city of Quito to do our creative campaigns. And the way that the Kids Committee came about is as we'd be down there in this Plaza Foch area, we're down there doing our campaigns at 11 o'clock at night, and then oftentimes after our campaigns we're hanging out and grabbing coffee or whatever. So you're in this pretty much a party district of the city, and yet there's 5-year-olds running around all around you. They might be trying to sell you gum or roses or cigarettes. And at first, as an outsider, you come and you just think, oh man, that's sad. Like, I wonder where their parents are. They're probably around the corner or something. But what we found out is that when we had to submit an application to have the permit down in this area. And when we sent all our pictures and said all of what we were doing and what we were about, the city responded. And they said, yes, you have permission to be down there, so we give you permission every Friday night. They said, except not only do you have permission, but we would like to meet with you. They said, because I think that we need your help to target the kids in this area. And so, of course, we said, yeah, let's have a meeting, let's talk. So we go and we meet with them, and they begin to explain the backstory to the kids that we see down there. And the backstory is that the mafia rents these kids out from the surrounding areas, and they rent them for the weekend for about $10 for 3-4 days. They bring them to the area because this is where all the tourists are, and then these kids have to sell drugs, they have to sell products like I mentioned, gum or cigarettes or things like that. They have to pickpocket, they're forced into a life of crime, and even begging, and then the mafia is the one who gets all this money, and oftentimes some of these kids are even exploited sexually. And so you have all these kids that are really it's slave labor. They're being forced to work in this area. And so the city came to us and they said, is there anything that you can do? Is there any way that you can help us? They said, you know, we just don't have enough resources, and we love your creative style and we think you could help. And so, of course, you know, that's a huge open door and opportunity. And so as a team, we talked and said, yeah, we have to do something, and let's do something for these kids. And so we through brainstorming and talking, we came up with something that's now called Carpa Loca. And in Spanish, that means the crazy tent. And so every week in this park right near the plaza that I'm speaking of, where all these kids are, every Friday we go and we do Carpa Loca, which is basically a kind of like a giant, it's like a kids television program that's presented live. So we have the city provides these giant tents for us. We deck it out to make it look like a circus, and it's just kind of crazy, and we have all these different characters, and we have a theme song and logos and balloons, and we want this to be a fun experience so that the kids want to come. Part of the goal from the city's perspective is just any time that they're at Carpa Loca, that's one less hour that they're on the streets. And our goal, obviously, is, yes, we want them not just on the streets, but we want them to hear the gospel message. And we want them to know their value. We want them to know, in our whole curriculum that we've written, and it's been the Submerge program. Submerge, the previous alumni have been the ones who created this program, who wrote the curriculum, and it's all focused on their value, because we believe that if they understand their inherent value and understand who they are and that they're valuable just because of being them, that God has created them valuable, they'll be less likely to devalue themselves down the road. They'll be less likely to sell their bodies. They'll be less likely to do drugs because they'll understand that they're valuable. And so the whole purpose of Carpa Loca is that we want these kids to understand their value. And so we have about 150 kids that come out every single Friday. And if you think about that, that's like a children's service. I mean, if you've got 150 kids, that's like kids' church at a church of 500 or 600 people. And again, that's just one of the things that we're doing every single week. So if you're on our kids committee on Tuesdays, you're thinking, you're planning, you're writing skits, you're thinking what's the object lesson, and you're planning that entire program that will be happening that Friday. So those are the 4 committees that happen on Tuesday mornings, and that's the bulk of what our week is. That really sets us up to run the rest of the week. We take that Tuesday morning to plan everything, and the rest is just kind of on autopilot from there, because we've all been planning our various areas that we're responsible for. So basically, that's what Tuesday morning looks like. Tuesday afternoon is generally a lighter time. We have Tuesday morning meetings, and then Tuesday afternoon a few more meetings, but then some downtime, because Tuesday nights are when we have our one service. So that's when we're at the House of Rock and we're doing our one church plant. And so that's what happens on Tuesdays. That runs pretty late, 11 o'clock or so that night. So then that's what a Tuesday looks like. You jump into Wednesday. Wednesday is when we have classes. We have classes Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And basically the way that's set up is we have our what's called Inspire classes the first hour. So from 9:30 to 10:30, Wednesday through Friday, we have Inspire class. And that's where we're dealing with topics like how to create a winning mentality, understanding your identity, who you are in Christ, learning to think creatively, because many people think that creativity is just for artists and dancers and painters, but no, we believe creativity is possible for all of us, because one of the elements of God is that by design, His very nature is that He's creative, and we are created in His image. And so we believe that all of us can turn that creative switch on in our lives. And so we go through a lot of series on how to implement that in life, how to have a great mentality, understanding who we are, because we can learn all of the skills in the world, but if we have a losing mentality, if we have a mentality that says, oh, I don't know how to do that, or I can't do that, or I'm not good enough, it doesn't matter what we know how to do, our mentality will block us from doing it. So that's what Inspire classes are designed to do, is to get to the core of who we are as people and maybe rewire some of the thinking in our lives. So that's Inspire class, Wednesday through Friday, 9:30 to 10:30. Then we have Equip class, and that again goes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That runs from 10:30 to 11:30. And Equip is the other side of the coin, because you can have all the inspiration in the world, but if you don't know how to do something, if you don't know how to put kind of feet to your faith, then you're equally set up to fail. Because on one hand, if you have vision but don't know how to do anything, it's hard. If you have all these skills but you don't have vision, that equally is not going to get you anywhere. So we try and combine them both. So Equip, then, we're dealing with, that's where you'll have your design classes on Wednesday. My wife is a designer. She's been a designer for 10 years. We have a media company on the side of, aside from Go International. We do consulting and marketing campaigns for people. So my wife is the one who will be teaching the classes of design on Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays for the Equip class, that's really where I teach a lot of the business side. I teach what it takes to run a business, what it takes to run an organization. We deal with sales, marketing, personal finance, understanding how to make business and running an organization not seem complicated. And really our assumption when people come to the program, we assume that everybody's going to go and start their own thing. They're going to start their own business, they're going to start their own ministry, and of course we understand that that's not the case. Not everybody's going to do that. But if we teach from that perspective, then those who are going to do that will feel prepared, and those who aren't going to go start their own thing will be that much more valuable when they go and be a part of another team, because they'll understand what it takes to run an organization from the top down. And the Equip side, that's really where you're going to learn how to go do the things that are in your heart. So we have the Inspire class, we have Equip class, and then the next class is Spanish. So that again runs Wednesday through Friday. So you have Spanish class 11:30 to 12:30. Now the only caveat there, because again that's classes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Equip on Friday. What Equip on Friday looks like is we have guest speakers. We harness the power and use of technology. So yes, we live in South America, but we don't limit our guest speakers to those who live in Ecuador. Sure, we have the occasional speaker that comes in from Ecuador, but we use Skype, and we have authors and filmmakers and pastors and business people, successful people from all around the world that Skype in to do really just classes in a small group environment where it's Q&A, where we can have a conversation back and forth. And we find that these speakers, and many of them, we have one of our guys who spoke last year. He's the pastor of a church of 10,000 people, and he's Skyping in and talking to a room full of 15. And so you just see this other side of the leaders, where they can say things that they're not going to say on TV. They can be more real. They can be more authentic, because it's the behind the scenes, and they understand that this is about training future leaders. So that's one of the most rich times that we have, where people are really getting to be poured into and spoken to by really solid, successful leaders. So that's what classes look like Wednesday through Friday. Pretty much the evenings of the rest of those days are going and doing the various things that the committees have planned. So Wednesday night, for example, we work with an organization called Pan de Vida, where we are helping them distribute food. Thursdays, we're in the Juvenile Detention Center. Fridays is when we do our creative campaigns. So what Fridays looks like is we have class from 9:30 to 12:30. We have lunch. Then we go down and do the Carpa Loca presentation. That's at 2 o'clock on Friday. So we do the big kids presentation of Carpa Loca on Friday afternoons. Then we have the creative campaign in Plaza Foch that night for our creative campaign committee has previously planned and worked on that Tuesday morning. So that's what the week looks like. That brings us to Saturday. Saturday is a day with a little bit of variety. One of the things that we do on Saturday is something we started years ago called Go On Your Own, or over the years teams have kind of hijacked the term and they now call it Go-Yo. And basically Go-Yo is the thought of here, you're living in a foreign country, you're surrounded by all kinds of outreach. All of what we're doing is, many of the things are planned and it takes coordinated effort and all this stuff. But Go-Yo is just a place to remind us that ministry doesn't have to be formal or planned or set. It can just be going and having coffee with a friend. It can be passing out some food to a kid on the street. So Go-Yo is a place where the team can kind of peer into the world of what is it like to be a missionary. Because in our case, when we came here, nobody told us what we had to do. We were just here and we were surrounded by need, and it's like, okay, and now what do we do? Here we are. And the purpose of Go-Yo is to pull you out from the planning side of everything, or having things like kind of set, like, okay, you got to do this and you got to do this now. Saturday mornings is a time where it's like, okay, man, we're here in Ecuador. I have truth on the inside of me, and what do I do? Because I'm surrounded by need. So that pretty much takes us through an average week here at Submerge. Next day is Sunday, Monday. We dive into the weekend again. That's also a great relational day. Oftentimes, here in South America, parks are huge. There's a giant park not too far away. So a lot of the times, team is going and playing volleyball or basketball or just grabbing a book and going and reading. But again, that's just the time to kind of reset and recharge and also get out of town. Go, we're not too far from the rainforest and doing some adventure things. So that's kind of what an average week looks like. So hopefully you understand the why we exist. Hopefully now you've got a picture of what is it like to be in the program. And I would just say this, that if this is something that as you're listening to it, it seems like, man, that would be awesome, that seems exciting. I think that sometimes we can over-spiritualize the process. And I believe that we need to hear the voice of God, but I also believe that God leads through, man, what are we feeling on the inside? Are we excited about it? Do we feel like this is a step in the right direction of training for my future? Because I think that sometimes the hardest part is actually starting. I've seen a lot of times where people have missed out on great opportunities because they haven't been decisive and haven't made a decision. And I know that at this stage in life, it can feel like, man, what if I make the wrong decision? Then, if I choose, there's door A and door B, and if I choose this, my whole life's going to be over. I would just encourage you, whatever the opportunities are in front of you, take time to pray, see what you feel peaceful about, but ultimately know this, that whether you choose door A or choose door B, if your heart is right and your heart's in the right place, and you're genuinely just seeking to make the right step in life, God's not a punk. He's not going to cause the rest of your life to suck because you thought you were supposed to do door A and it was really door B. God can always steer somebody who's hearing what he's saying. And so I would just say, take a little bit of the pressure off. And whether it's door A or door B, make the decision with confidence. If Submerge is something that you want to do, something that you're interested in, I would say this. Right now, take the first step. Below this video that you're watching on our webpage here is the application. Take a minute, fill out the application, and see what happens. See if you get accepted. Then you can say, okay, man, this must be, or okay, now I've really got to decide because it's either I do this or do that. But take a first step. I think that's one of the most crucial things in any decision that we're making in life is to actually act on it. Because I think a lot of times people, they have faith and they have vision, but you can remember in James it says that faith without works is dead. And so works is the action part of life. It's the thing that distinguishes us from everybody else when we actually put feet to our faith, when we actually make a move. And so I would encourage you, if this is something that you want to do, come back either now, fill out the application, come back later, fill out the application, but get it submitted. That's the first step. And you might be sitting here and listening to all of this and say, man, it sounds awesome. I would love to do that, but you don't understand. I don't have the money to do it. I'll say this, I do understand, because I've been in your shoes. I do not come from a background of money. I wasn't from a family that could just finance my dreams. I understood what it was to step out and make big decisions when I didn't understand the way. And I'll leave you with this. So take this in life, whether you use it for Submerge, or maybe you don't end up coming to Submerge, but you can just grab onto this principle, and I'll share it with you because it's one of the most impactful things that anybody's ever shared with me, and has really made a big difference in my life. And it was a business guy that shared this with me when I was probably 19 years old. And he said, listen, he said, don't ever let the how stop the what. And what that means is that he said this, he said, oftentimes people will try and figure out how they're going to accomplish something before they ever make the firm commitment to do it. He said, and that's not what leaders do. Leaders make the decision first. They said, this is what I'm going to do. And because this is what I'm going to do, I will figure out how. It's one of the keys to creativity. We'll teach that as you come participate in the program. It's one of the ways we can fire up the creative brain, is to ask, not to just say I can't, but rather to ask how can I. So begin to ask yourself the question, how can I? And with that, take time to say, is this the what? Is this what you're to do? Is this the next step for you? Because if so, I believe that the how will come. Decide, this is what I want to do. Begin to ask the questions, how can I do it? How can I do it? And the answers will come, I promise you. And I believe this. I believe that when God leads people to be a part of a program like this, what He's wanting to accomplish in people's lives does not just happen when they get off the plane here in Ecuador. Part of what He's wanting to accomplish is to take us through that process even now. Those feelings of maybe insecurity, or am I good enough to do this, or how am I going to raise the money to do it? Part of that process, you know, God's not compartmentalizing life and just saying, well, yeah, I told them to do this in 6 months, but for the next 6 months, you know, I'm not really involved in their life. No, God's involved in even in the fundraising, even in the getting you over maybe some of your fears of applying. So I would just encourage you that if this is what you feel to do, if you're interested in it, if you're thinking, man, maybe this is for me, take a step of faith and see what God does. Fill out the application below. Know that my wife and I, we are praying for you. We believe in you. We believe in young people. We believe in the capacity that you have to change this world. I'll say this, if you have questions after having seen this video, I'm more than happy to jump on the phone with you if that's something that you would be interested in, or you can shoot us an email and I'd be happy to write you to respond to that. But just know that our heart here is that you would be exactly where you're supposed to be. If that's here with us at Submerge, then we're going to have a great time together. If it's not here with us at Submerge, then you're going to have a great time and we're going to have a great time. We're just not going to be together. But I would just say thank you for taking time to watch this video, and we truly pray clarity in your life as you're making the big decisions that are ahead of you. God bless.